Good afternoon again. Thank you all for spending your afternoon with us to talk about a very important program. My name is Simone Bolo. I'm the Executive Director for the Public Policy and International Affairs Fellowship Program, and we'll spend the next about half an hour or so here with you, giving you some details about the fellowship program. And then we'll ask if you have questions as we go along. My colleague, Saran Dime, is also on the webinar. She will be addressing questions in the Q&A. So feel free to drop your questions in the chat. And then I see that a few folks don't see the link. Saran will put that link in our chat again for you all as I go through the webinar. And that link is just to allow us to send you information ongoingly about the PPIA program for short. So again, thank you all for being here. We'll spend about 30 minutes talking about our program, and the rest of the time will be open for Q&A. We also will be recording this so that we can also share it with those who aren't with us today, and that we can also share this on our website for advisors to go back and revisit. We also have a number of tools that we can equip you in your campus with to promote the program. We have flyers in a variety of sizes. We have a slide deck very similar to the one I will use today. And then we have some list of pretty extensive Q&A and FAQs that we can also send to you. So do not hesitate to reach out to us if you have questions, and if you need tools to help your students navigate our application process, and also tools to help you promote on your campus. All right, with that, I think we're going to jump right into an overview of our program. So we are a fellowship program that's been around for over 40 years in a variety of iterations. We are now the Public Policy and International Affairs Fellowship Program, and our mission really is about cultivating the next generation of diverse public service and international affairs professionals by doing and investing into their education, their skill development, their social networks. And we believe that that is powerful in order to equip young leaders to affect domestic and global change and really focus on the issues that they care about in the world. Our vision is to continue to create a thriving and equitable world uplifted by these young leaders who are going to go out and focus on the issues that they care about in the public policy international affairs arena. In terms of our makeup of our program, we are broadly diverse, and you can see that here from our alumni survey of the makeup of our alumni in our program. And so we've been doing this for some time, over 40 years, really a pathway and a pipeline to graduate school of policy and international affairs. And we spend time over the summer really preparing students for that. It's really a boot camp that focuses on the skill development and the application process that is needed to successfully apply and matriculate into graduate programs that focus on policy and international affairs. Not only that, also give students more insight to the field of public service. What does it mean to be a public servant? And what are those career trajectories and pathways look like for these students? So our goal is to identify those high potential students who are saying, I see a change that I want to make in the world, and activate them, get them engaged, and to be able to reach the highest level of that type of engagement as change makers. And we believe that you can do that by education as one pivotal place to do that in order to create some of that change. And so in getting students prepared for master's programs, we have students participate in our Junior Summer Institutes, which I'll talk in detail about. We have partnerships with universities across the country as part of our graduate school consortium. And we have an extensive alumni network. And so it's not only about understanding what it means to get into graduate programs of policy and international affairs and working with schools to understand what they have to offer, but it's also understanding those who have come before you and how they've navigated their academic and career trajectories. And so students that have gone through our program are part of what we call the PPIA family, this large alumni network that supports alumni in a number of ways. So in terms of our Junior Summer Institutes, Currently, we have 6 JSIs by short, we call them host schools, and they are located at Evans School of the Public Policy and, Evans School of Policy and Governance at the University of Washington, the Ford School at the University of Michigan, the Goldman School at the University of California, Berkeley, Hines College at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, the Humphrey School of Public Affairs at the University of Minnesota, and Princeton School of Public and International Affairs in New Jersey. And as I mentioned before, the Junior Summer Institute is a 7-week program for these high potential, diverse college students that are interested in being change makers and working in public service. And during the summer, it's really a boot camp to prepare them for that. In terms of other programming, I'm going to mention a few things really quick before we get into the details of our fellowship application. Some of you may be familiar with this program, but we've hosted a number of public service weekends, which is a 3-day conference hosted nationally across the country. This summer, we held 2 virtually and 2 in person, and they're fully funded opportunities for students who want to learn more about a career in public service. And they're typically hosted by one of the schools in our graduate school consortium. And then every summer in DC, we host a public service expo for all the interns and a variety of folks in our network who may be interested in learning more about graduate programs, learning more about the think tank community, the intelligence community, and other federal type jobs that they want to have access to and talk to recruiters about, folks from HUD to, the GAO, are folks who are also engaged in some of this programming during the summer at the expo. So we are a national program. Our Junior Summer Institutes are at no cost to the student. So if they're applying and are selected to one of our Junior Summer Institutes, we cover their flights to get to campus. We cover their room and board and their meal plan, and then there's a small stipend that's given at the completion of the program. And this just gives you a sense of scope of where we're at nationally, as I mentioned, the different Junior Summer Institute schools. And then we also have a number of alumni chapters that are really active with us in a number of ways to engage alumni and to also recruit for the Junior Summer Institutes for us. So in terms of our alumni, we can see that our alumni are employed across a broad spectrum of both private, public, and nonprofit organizations. And so this kind of gives you, again, a perspective of folks that have gone through our program, where they land in career sectors, but then also where they land in their pursuits towards graduate degrees earned. And as you can see, a large majority do go into public policy and then into other disciplines as well. You see some in international relations. We see a lot of folks going to law school, and then a small fraction that go on to the doctoral process. We're able to do this by generous sponsorship from our school that hosts the Junior Summer Institutes. And then we also have a number of institutional partners that work across policy schools across the nation in a variety of ways. So our program, what do we provide? We have the fellowship, so Junior Summer Institutes. We have a responsive program that is really engaged with those who've gone through our program to recruit them and educate them about graduate school opportunities. We have our alumni who are also engaged in a number of ways, from recruitment to activities all around the country. And then we have our JSI participants who are actively engaged over the 7 weeks with their schools in a number of ways to prepare them for graduate school and a career in public service. We also do a lot of outreach in order to do some of our other programming. So our Public Service Expo and our Public Service Weekends, we're not only concerned with our Junior Summer Institute fellows, but we're concerned with the kind of ecosystem of students that are saying, I want to pursue a career in public service, and to be able to offer some additional ways for them to connect and build their own social networks around how to navigate this career path in public service. So many benefits of our program. Last year, we selected 146 fellows from across the country that participated in 6 of our programs, and there's about a 30% acceptance rate. We see on average about 550 applications annually for our program. During the summer, what will they be doing at the Junior Summer Institutes? They are enrolled in graduate level coursework. So they're taking a statistics course at the graduate level, quantitative analysis at the graduate level, and qualitative analysis. And they're taking a policy analysis at the graduate level, which if you look at the curriculum at most policy schools are typically what students see in that first year and first semester of policy school. So they're really getting a leg up by going through a summer program like ours, that when they get to policy school, they are ready to go. They are also visiting local, state, and federal organizations to understand, once you have a policy degree, what are my options in terms of career paths? So who are the organizations I should be considering internships and maybe even a potential job with in the future? And so we try to give a deeper level of exposure that way to those in our program as well. We bring in guest lecturers, faculty across the programs. We also bring guest lectures of alumni and panels in, and local public service that are right in the backyards of the Junior Summer Institute's host sites to be part of the activities over the 7 weeks. We also give resources for the GRE prep. We know that some policy schools have moved away from requiring, but there's still a few out there that still require that. So we still feel like a very important thing to offer our students so that they have a wide variety of schools that they can have access to. Over the summer, they are engaged in some sort of hands-on research, and that we typically model that through the summer capstone project and presentation, where students select a policy area that they're interested in or have some background work in. And with that, they will focus their summer on that in addition to coursework. And then all final coursework is evaluated by the faculty that lead the coursework and any type of graduate level instructors around how are your students progressing over the summer, and if they are actually ready for graduate school. And I would say a large majority of our folks are prepared and ready for graduate school once they complete our program. It's very rare that someone doesn't complete our program. Our attrition is really, really low. And once the students complete the program, they are provided with a stipend. And there's, again, I mentioned there's no cost for your student to attend and participate in the Junior Summer Institutes. I'll stop and take a pause here as folks are having questions. Saran Sidime, my colleague, is in the chat and monitoring that. So if questions come up for you as I'm going through the slides, please feel free to let her know. So in terms of program eligibility, junior students are encouraged to apply. They need to have graduate between December 2023 and August 2024. I typically say have at least one semester of coursework to be done. We find that many of our students post-program will go on and add additional coursework many times to help prepare them even further, mainly around the quantitative courses. Students also need to be US citizens, legal permanent residents, and DACA recipients are eligible for all sites. Carnegie Mellon, Princeton, and University of Washington does admit international students. All majors are welcome. And students, we're looking for that demonstration of commitment to public service. And that can mean a lot of things. It can mean that they're actively working in their own communities or on campus, or doing specific work or jobs that are focused on why do they want to go into public service. And so we're really looking for that demonstrated piece. What have they done? What are their hands actually in terms of the work? And then we are also interested in students that are very aware and are committed to diversity, inclusion, and equity. So no matter the background of the student, we need to see that there is understanding of our increasingly diverse world in a variety of ways, and that the change that they seek to make impacts all communities as well. So in terms of what we are looking for, we're looking for the demonstration of strong academic potential to succeed in graduate level work. We're looking for a demonstrated, I mentioned before, commitment to public service and addressing the issues, greatest social issues of our time affecting all communities. We're looking for strong letters of recommendation. We're looking for well-written applications that students are focused on talking about their background and their narrative around their interest in public service. We're looking for their resume that demonstrates what they've been engaged in. And then we also do ask for financial information in terms of being able to look at their economic need, and that is part of the consideration for our program. So in terms of the application requirements, there are 2 letters of recommendations. We ask for academic and a public service focus letter. There are 3 to 5 essays, depending on how your students rank each site. So there is a focus on their background, their goals and motivations essay, and the skills that they hope to gain from the JSI, and their experiences with diverse communities. Now, the other 2 statements are for our specialized track. So if students want to be considered for UC Berkeley, they have a law fellows track, and the Carnegie Mellon University has a data analytics track. And each of those tracks select an additional 10 students. So in those cases, we are looking for students to write an additional essay based on why they're either interested in the data analytics track or why they're interested in the law track. We ask for resume, we ask for unofficial transcripts for all colleges attended, and then their FAFSA information or their parents' tax information. Students will have the ability to edit their application and submit it up to the deadline. We receive on average about 500 applications a year. We strongly encourage your students to work with you all in editing their application, making sure it's as strong as it can be, but then also to getting it submitted before that November 1st deadline, so that they don't run into any issues with any of the application pieces that they need to submit. Each Junior Summer Institute host has a unique selection process. How I typically explain to folks is they use their own admissions or parts of their admissions, how they go about admissions at the institution, to use this as another way to walk students through that process. So oftentimes when I go out in the summer and meet with our fellows across the country, I say, if you applied to our program and you got in, you're probably ready to apply to graduate school and will likely have a strong application, because we have mirrored our application process very similarly to the graduate school application process for schools of policy and international affairs. And so our schools also use the processes they have in place to guide that process in selection. And in order to build the cohorts that they feel are going to be very successful over the summer, not just in the program, but also working together to develop and build a cohort and a network that's going to last with your students for a lifetime. In the application, your students will list a ranking of their JSIs. And I often get a question about how do students know how to rank their JSIs. And we really push students to do a little bit of research on their end, to look at the 6 sites, look at their curriculum, look at what their schools are about. You know, most programs are pretty generalist, but there are some unique aspects to each school, and to really tailor their application towards the school that they really want to be at. But also keeping it as general as possible to address that they would like to go into public service. Essentially, the programs at the core are very similar in terms of the coursework over the summer. What there's going to be the differences is across what actually happens in terms of faculty coming in, site visits, panelists. That is all going to be tailored by each individual institution. This year, we hope for this upcoming next summer, we hope to admit anywhere between 150 to 140 fellows. And our admissions decisions are made in early February. So by early February, your students will be notified if they're accepted. If they're accepted, they will only be offered admissions to one JSI. We also have a wait list, and that wait list does move because, as you all know, there are many, many fellowship programs out there. We have students that are savvy and are incredibly competitive and will apply to multiple, which is great. And we want folks to be where they want to be and spend their summers however they would like to spend their summers. So sometimes that results in folks actually saying no to us, which is okay. It creates room for other folks because, as I said earlier, we get over 500 applications. So we do prepare for a wait list and movement that way. So lots of benefits to our program, other than just the rigorous preparation for graduate school and access to this incredible network of leaders all around the country and world. We don't just leave your students hanging after they complete our fellowship. We have over 50 schools in our graduate school consortium. And many of these schools are some of the top policy schools across our nation, both in public policy and international affairs. And so when students complete our program, these schools now have access to them and they know exactly what they've gone through over the summer. They know that they're incredibly prepared and competitive and are actively recruiting these students. So all 50 schools have agreed to waive application fees, which is great for our students, so they don't have to bear that cost burden. If they're accepted, they're guaranteed at a minimum a one-time financial reward of $5,000. So I say that with a little bit of hesitancy because many of our folks in our network see much more than that $5,000 award. We see anything on average from full rides to half rides to a combination of rides that provide substantial support through assistantships or other scholarships. The schools in our network understand that your students have gone through this rigorous preparation. They understand they're competitive and they understand that they have to, as I tell them, come correct when it comes to the financial aid awards for our alumni. So in many cases, folks are not, they're alleviated with that debt burden once they complete graduate school in with any of our schools in the consortium. Now, our consortium schools, I will also mention, because I get this question quite a bit, are only policy schools of public policy and international affairs. And so sometimes students will say, well, I'm thinking about being a social worker or other graduate schools. If they're at that school, will they consider? That is something that schools will have to navigate on their own. Our agreements are only with the policy schools in our consortium. There's a full list of those schools on our website. So how to apply? Here's a link, direct link to the application. We also have much more information on our website, PPIAprogram.org, that walks students through each site, a description of their program. Our FAQs can also be found online to answer any of the questions that your students may have. And the application link is also online. One other thing that I'll mention that we have online is our Student Resource Center. And that's another place where students can go as they're looking for other opportunities in public service that they may want to consider applying to. Once a student goes into our application, they can develop a profile. They'll get reminders and emails from us saying, hey, you started your application. Remember, our deadline is November 1st throughout this month, and they have already been receiving that if they're already in the system. And then that is also where they will submit their final application through our website as well. So this is our last slide. So if you would like more information from us, there's a couple of things. Saran Sidime, my colleague, has dropped in the chat a link if you want to be added to our listserv. Here's our general info@ppiaprogram.org email. Feel free to shoot us an email anytime with any questions. And then we also encourage you to follow us on social media. We are on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Our LinkedIn is probably the most active, where we probably have the most followers, and we share resources from our partners and our resources as we learn about them on that page probably more frequently than anywhere else. And then our website, if you want to get kind of a good background on who we are. It's a great profile we just did last year on our 40 change makers. And so if you're looking for some of our leader profiles of alumni that have gone through our program to see where they're at now, you'll find that on our website as well, and maybe a nice place to send students And it's around, if you can drop that in the chat for folks to find the 40 campaign. That's also a great place to send students to kind of see where do our folks land that go through a program like ours. So again, thank you all again for spending part of your afternoon with us. We know that it's a busy time of year for us all, particularly advisors, as you have multiple things you're juggling with deadlines and support that you're providing for your students. We appreciate you and value the work that you do, because we know that you are the key influencers for these young leaders to encourage them to consider applying to programs like ours and really, trying something new. And so if there's any questions or any tools you need from us that would help us in helping you all get the word out to students in your networks and on your campuses, please don't hesitate to reach out to Saran and I. Again, thank you. We'll stay on for a little bit to answer questions that arrive in the chat. And with that, we will let you have the rest of your afternoon. Thank you again and have a good day.
I just want to, bring people's attention back to our Google form.